Welcome back to the studio, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastic. Today I am doing some layering on the chorus of a song that we're working on that kind of has a 70s rock vibe, or a little bit of a 70s rock vibe. You know, the groove, the bang, bam, bam, ba-do-da-da-da. That's playing the cowbell, which is part of why it has a 70s rock vibe. But the guitars, while they sound good, are a little more plain or a little more natural than I wanted, and I wanted to try to add some texture, maybe a little bit of depth, and even a little bit of movement, but I don't want to add more guitars. I want to do it with a completely different sound, so enter the organ. Now I know layering guitars with an organ is not a new concept, but it works really, really well. So what I have here is an M3, not a B3. Wish I had a B3, but I don't. So I've got the M3. This used to have the good old speaker that was down here at the feet, pretty useless in a studio. So I modded this to work with guitar amps. So I exclusively use this organ with guitar amps. It allows me to use all of my plethora of pedals that I have building up over here. So I can get all sorts of different sounds. It doesn't have to be just an organ type sound. And I am using a couple pedals today. First up is the Boss NS2 noise suppressor, just to kill a little of the low end hum that's coming from the organ, and it works really well. But the main tone is coming from the Electro Harmonix Lester K that I have down at my feet. Yeah, I know, using an organ pedal with an organ. But the Lester K allows me some fine control that I cannot get straight from the M3. Part of that is the actual speaker, rotary speaker simulation. It also allows me to run stereo if I want to, and I am running stereo today. Over here to my left, I have a pair of amps. I have a Fender 212R and my good old Polytone Mini Brute. And yes, they're different amps, but like I said earlier, I'm not trying to do any sort of typical left-right doubling. I wanted something that was a single sound stereo, and having two different amps helps to get more of the stereo effect, and then the Lester K and the control that I have over what's happening in the stereo field there adds even more to that effect. I have the amps mic'd up with a pair of AKG D1000Es, and these are running straight into the Trident 88 console. And since I'm all by my lonesome tracking today, I am running screen sharing on my laptop here to control the computer that is in the control room. And that's the setup here in the live room. So now let's head over to the control room and have a listen to how all of this sounds. Before we take a listen, this is not a final mix. We are still in the tracking process. There are a few vocals to put on still, and I need to reamp the bass. So maybe after I do each of those, I'll do an update with this tune with all the stuff on there so you can hear how it progresses into the final product. Having said that, let's take a listen to the chorus with everything sans organ. And that's the track. You can kind of hear the bit of a 70s vibe I was talking about with that drum groove and the cowbell and that broken guitar riff. And it sounds cool. I actually don't have any problem with any of the tones. I just wanted to add some texture and a little bit of depth and give it something, the guitars anyway, something a little bit more interesting. So here's the guitar part just by itself. This is good old Ernesto. Sounds good. And here is the organ part. You can hear I'm doubling the guitars, which is exactly what I was going for. But you can also hear that stereo effect that I was talking about, and that's the cool thing that the Lester K does. It turns that M3 into a stereo organ, which is cool. So now I'm going to add the guitars in. Here are just the guitars and the organ. They match pretty well, actually, and I'm not an organ player, so that took me a few tries to play that and get it to match Ernesto, but I think I did a pretty good job, actually. Now let's take a listen to the whole thing in context. I'm gonna start with the organ off, and I will turn it on after a couple bars so you can hear the effect it has on the guitars and the chorus in general. It fills things out a little bit and it adds just a little bit of motion to the whole chorus part. I'm still gonna put a tambourine on this too, but I like that fast kind of rotary speaker vibrato that happens right here. And you can even hear it on the riff. So it's got some energy, but the cool thing with the Lester K, like I said a minute ago, is the ability to switch between the fast and the slow and kind of dial in settings. And I use that going into the guitar solo. Because besides the chorus, the organ goes underneath the solo just as a pad because it felt weird to all of a sudden kill the organ. But I did not like the kind of fast rotary speaker vibe. So here's just the organ and you'll hear it slow down. And that's the pad that happens underneath the guitar solo here. Like the fast movement was too much underneath the guitar solo. I liked it a little bit slower, so it just became a pad, and there's that particular mid-range that the organ has that just cuts through the guitars a lot. That's it. An interesting way to add some depth and character to guitars without actually recording more guitars. Like I said a minute ago, I think once I do the bass and the vocals, I'll do an update with this song just to show you how it progresses to the final stages. But until then, everybody, thanks for joining me on this video. Get out there and make some music, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace. Fuck! Timing!